All right, everybody. Here we are for episode 120 of Now Showing with Mike and Wayne. Wayne, I did want, before we get into our topic this morning, over the last week or so, there's been this conversation. It started with Scorsese a year or so ago. Now it's Tarantino, and it's this great idea of asking these huge cinematic directors what they think of superhero movies. And even when they don't mean to be offensive about it, everyone takes it the completely wrong way. As Tarantino said, people go to the movies to see the characters and not the actors. He's not wrong. People go to see Iron Man, they go to see Thor, they go to see Captain America. Doesn't matter who's playing those characters for the most part. But it's just, I'm tired of this discourse because it does nothing, and it's all it is got you articles that they can then post online and be like, "Hey, Tarantino hates superhero movies," when in fact he's one of the few directors. If you look at his top 10 every year, there's usually one or two big giant studio movies in there. And a lot of it, one time he did The Lone Ranger, which everyone hated, but Tarantino. So, I mean, it's funny to see the people try to stir up this discourse when it really doesn't seem to be there.
Yeah, no, I mean, taking the characters out of it, every superhero movie is basically the same.
Yep.
But what sets them apart are the characters themselves, the actors playing the characters. I mean, like I have said numerous times, I'm superheroed out. I have been since Endgame.
Yeah.
I haven't watched a lot.
Yeah.
You know,
And I get it.
But I'm not going to sit here and diminish the work of these people and studios and everything. It's just I'm taking a break. I'm having a superhero cleanse, if you will.
Yes. Well, and I think too, and this is another thing I wanted to talk about too, real quick, was the focus on money. And I think, and it's obviously the studios don't do themselves any favors because that's all they care about. So then us as fans start to care about that. And I try to get to my son's head because like he'll be like, "Oh, well, this movie they made this much money, so this must be really good." And I'm like, "No, Donovan. Just because people went and saw it doesn't mean it's actually a good movie. You have to see it in order to make that opinion yourself. You can't just go, oh, well, it must have been a good movie because Transformers 4 made fucking $800 million. That movie sucks." So, it's like that's not a good indication. And I think people as fans focus too much on it too. With Knives Out coming, oh, well, they should have released it in theaters. Look how much money it's making. I'm like, that's not the fucking point. The point is people are seeing it. Who
They
cares how much
finally
money
bring
it
out the
makes?
Dinobots, and that's what they give us.
Yeah, right. Yeah, they fucked up the Dinobots. How did they do that? I have no idea. Probably the only movie my son would watch in the Transformers universe because it has dinosaurs in it. But yeah, I just wanted to talk about that real quick because it is something that I did post something about it on Facebook. I'm just tired of like stop asking these directors these stupid questions that don't matter. Like you have Quentin Tarantino in front of you and Martin Scorsese, and the biggest question you're going to ask that you're going to get clicks on is, "What do you think of superhero movies, Mr. Scorsese?" Like, come on. Like, fucking ask him about his career, ask him about his next movie, ask him about, the Oscars or other big movies that are like his movies. Don't just fucking ask these gotcha questions that then you're going to get a bunch of clicks and likes over. It's so annoying. But I know that's how the world works, so I'm not naive. It just bothers me.
Well, somebody's trying to make a name for themselves. Like
Well, because immediately after Tarantino said what he said, there were a million articles. Tarantino puts down superhero movies. Simu Liu attacks Scorsese and Tarantino over superhero. I'm like, no, none of this is happening. But it just gets ridiculous. All right, so with that out of the way, we will move into our topic. We've talked about this before, Wayne, but we're going to do dysfunctional families again because this
there
movie
is so much to talk about.
Yes, exactly. I've got a list up, and I'm pretty sure a bunch of movies I've never talked about before on here, or at least ones that I haven't talked about on this topic before. The movie we're reviewing is The People We Hate at the Wedding. I have to keep looking at the title because I always forget what the hell it's called, which is another dysfunctional family movie on Amazon Prime that came out 2 weeks ago, or a week ago, whatever it was. 2 weeks ago by the time this airs. Yeah, so let's get into it, Wayne. What's your first dysfunctional family film that you wanted to talk about today?
All right, the first one, I'm going back to Dan in Real Life from 2007. We are talking Peter Hedges, writers are Peace Gardner, Pierce Gardner and Peter Hodges gets a writing credit as well. It is starring Steve Carell, Juliette Binoche, Dane Cook, Deep Sigh, Allison Pill, Britt Robertson, Marlene Lawton. They play the three girls of Steve Carell's Dan character. The legendary John Mahoney, rest in peace. Diane Wiest. Amy Ryan has a role. Let's see if there's
Great
anybody else.
cast.
Yeah, fantastic cast. And all right. A widower finds out the woman he fell in love with is his brother's girlfriend. That is the tagline. A very weak tagline because there is so much more to this movie than
Yeah.
that one sentence. And yeah, here's the actual storyline quote. Single father Dan Burns dedicates his life to his children, but one day he meets Marie at a bookstore. They get to know each other, but then Dan finds out Marie is actually dating his brother Mitch. Again, another weak. The thing that you got to understand here: Dan is a single father of three young girls. His wife passed away suddenly, and he's still trying to figure shit out, basically. The story centers around a family reunion or family vacation in the woods at the family's cabin, and they are a very interesting mix of people. They get up and they do sports, and they put on a talent show. That's actually probably the highlight for me is when the Dan character gets up and sings "Let My Love Open the Door" with his brother Mitch, who is singing to the woman that they both love or are both infatuated with at this time.
Yes.
And one of the funny things is that in the beginning, the middle daughter's like, "I'm in love with him. I knew after 3 days," and Dan's up being in his pessimistic state, or whatever the correct terminology is for it. It's like, you can't know in 3 days. Lo and behold, in 3 days, he finds out that he loves Marie. So
Yeah.
it's very, very interesting, very heartwarming, very touching. Touches on death and just depending on family and being there for one another and all of that stuff that you would hope your family would be, or how they would react if there was a situation. But
Mhm.
again, that is definitely not the norm. That is the rarity in this particular film, in my opinion. So
Yeah.
very subtle comedy because Steve Carell's coming off The Office, or I know
Well,
he's smack dab in the middle of it, right?
right in the middle of The Office, it was right after Little Miss Sunshine. So it was like his after his first take into drama, which was more of a dark comedy. He comes and he does this role, which is another more dramatic, somewhat more dramatic role than we were used to from him.
Yes. So one
So
of
yeah,
my favorites, one of my yeah, just fun little watches right now. So
yeah, it's a good one, man. Carell's really good. I know we side Dane Cook in the beginning because of more recent uh, history with him and the weirdness and all that stuff, and even some of the past stuff. But I would say probably performance wise, one of his better movies. Um, I thought he did a good job as the brother, and I thought him and Carell definitely played well off of each other.
yeah,
Um, it's yeah, I mean, it's a movie I haven't seen it in a while, to be honest, Wayne, but it's good. I really do enjoy it. I also like. Oh, sorry, my phone started making noise. I also really do like Allison Pill. So I think we've talked about her a lot on this podcast. She's really good, and it's fun to see like an earlier role from her.
it's funny. She is so young. Like
Yeah.
they're all young. Like
Yep.
Britt Robertson has gone on to do some things.
Even
Yeah,
Carell is young when you look at him. Because that was what, like 2006, 2007, right? Right around
made in
there.
'6, came out in '7. So
Okay. Yeah, so it's been a while, but yeah, it's a good movie. It's a good one to bring up.
it also,
Um,
I mean, this was a spur of the moment date night when Miranda and I were first dating
oh,
back in
okay.
so it was a little bit extra something just because I don't know, it's still early. Want to go see a movie? Yeah, let's go see a movie. I don't know what to do. Let's just pick something, and it was good. So it's just one of those fun little added little things that makes me smile. So
All right, so I'm going to talk about one. I was going to do a horror film, which I still might, but I know I've talked about them before, so I'm going to kind of move on to something else that I reviewed on my socials, and then I talked about it on here. It's from 2020, but I watched it last year. It's called Shiva Baby. It's an indie film. It stars, let's see, directed by Emma Seligman, written by her as well, based on her uh, book as well. Um, Produced by Kieran Altman, Kate Schiller, Lizzie Shapiro, starring Rachel Sennett, Molly Gordon, Polly Draper, uh, Danny DeFerrari, Fred Mellon, Diana Aragon. There's somebody. Oh yeah, that's okay. So that's, let's see, Jackie Hoffman, Sandra James, Rita Gardner. So, Shiva Baby. College senior Danielle and her sugar daddy Max have sex before she hurries to a Shiva. It's Shiva, I think. So Shiva Baby, my bad. To a Shiva observance with her parents Joel and Debbie. Before the Shiva at her Aunt Sheila's house, Danielle is schooled by her mother on how to respond to questions about her disorganized life. Within the house, members of the local extended Jewish community compare her to her ex girlfriend Maya, who is adored by the neighbors and heading to law school. Max, who is a former colleague of Joel's, arrives and Debbie insists on introducing him to Danielle in the hopes that one of Max's relatives will hire her. They have an awkward exchange, and Debbie reveals to Danielle that Max is married, shocking her. So this is a shock because Max is the person that she was sleeping with in the beginning of the movie. And so it brings up this really awkward, dysfunctional family storyline between the daughter and her parents who want her to be successful, and this relationship that she's having, and also her ex-girlfriend is at this party as well, and they haven't talked in quite some time. So it's funny, it's dark, it's awkward, Wayne. It's one of those movies that there's times you're like, oh, like I don't like you feel uncomfortable watching it. But when I watched this movie last year, I fell in love with it. I thought it was fantastic. um it reminded me of something like the first time I watched something like Rushmore, like watching one of those just kind of indie comedies. Not that it's the same; it's a different type of movie, but it just gave me that same type of feeling. And I really, really like this movie a lot. I want people to watch it. It was on HBO Max at some point. The
It
performances are,
still is. I just
it,
pulled it up to.
yeah,
I made it. I wanted to watch it when you brought it up the first time
yeah.
last year. I didn't. And now it's like, aha!
Yeah, definitely well worth it. The lead actress Rachel Sennett as Danielle is fantastic. I really hope it leads to her getting more stuff. I think she's been in other stuff too, so it's not like she was an unknown or anything. But it it's just a really well made movie. It's also only like 90 minutes, which like we talk about on this podcast a lot, is a good thing because it allows you to watch more movies, more TV shows. The shorter things are. So anyway, yeah, Shiva Baby. It's just a movie I really want people
People
and
pay.
people to see because it is just really good, and I think it's one of those underseen gems that is out there. So again, I think it's Shiva Baby. Shiva Baby sounds better in my mind, but Shiva is what it's called. So Shiva Baby.
It is. It is actually Shiva because my next movie is also about a family sitting Shiva. So, and that is 2014's "This Is Where I Leave You." And if you've listened to the show at all, you know I've talked about it. This is one of my favorite movies of all time, with just dysfunction and how families love each other and whatnot. So, after their father passes away, four grown siblings are forced to return to their childhood home, live under the same roof for a week, along with their oversharing mother and an assortment of spouses, exes, and what might have beens. Funny thing about this is, this was the mother's ploy to get all the children back under one roof again. Because the father actually turns out to be an atheist, and as Shiva is a religious uh, time, I believe, for the Jewish faith, like we talked about in the previous movie. It's actually the question is like, wasn't Dad an atheist? So it was just a ploy to get all the kids under the one roof again. And it's just really good storytelling. How each sibling has problems with the other. Just really, really well done. It's directed by Sean Levy, written by Jonathan Troper, starring Jason Bateman, Tina Fey, Jane Fonda, Adam Driver, Rose Byrne, Corey Stoll, Catherine Hahn, Connie Britton, Timothy Oliphant, Dax Shepard. God, Dax Shepard is fun to hate in this movie. Ben
Yes.
Schwartz, Alan Lazar. Yeah. So
Yeah, I love Oliphant in that movie. I mean, he's kind of he plays the guy with like a head injury.
yes, that was caused by Tina Fey's character.
Yep.
So just one of the many, many entwined storylines. So basically, the movie centers around Jason Bateman's character, Judd Altman, whose wife, played by what's her name?
Is that Han? Is it Catherine Han or is she?
No, no, no. That's the older brother Paul's wife.
That's right.
He used to date Catherine Hahn's character. Give me 1 second. I am failing miserably. She's a pretty renowned actress too, and I just Abigail Spencer.
That's right. Yes. Yep. From I know her from Suits.
Yeah. She is actually sleeping with Dax Shepard, um, Judd Altman, or Jason Bateman's boss, and it's been going on for a year. And the big centering point is how you must not, there must be something wrong
Mm-hmm.
there because it's been going on for a year and you didn't know.
Yeah.
Tina Fey and her estranged husband are having issues because of this, that, and the other. It doesn't really go into, you know, a
Full
lot of
detail.
detail.
Yeah.
They're just kind of falling out of it together. And Fey harbors lingering feelings for her, well, I guess first love, played by Timothy Oliphant, named Corey Callan. They were in an accident, and they hint that it was Tina Fey's fault, and he suffered a brain injury and can't live on his own. He forgets things and whatnot, and there's just that love that still exists between the two, and really well played. Tina Fey does a great job with this. This is another one with a good subtle humor. There's a scene where they find the joints in one of the
Yeah.
dad's old jackets, and while they're at service, Jason Bateman, Adam Driver, and Corey Stoll eventually all end up getting high in a classroom, setting off a smoke alarm, and are drenched with the sprinklers.
Yes. Very
Um,
funny scene.
Rose Byrne's character, Penny Moore, has been infatuated with uh, Jason Bateman's character ever since childhood.
That's
And
who I was thinking. She's the new love interest, right? Yeah.
yes,
Yeah. When you said Abigail Spencer, I'm like, that doesn't sound right, but that's right because Rose Byrne is the newer love interest.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a solid flick, man. I know it didn't get as much love when it came out. I think it's kind of gained its audience over time. But it has, I mean, a phenomenal cast. When you look at Jason Bateman, Tina Fey, and Adam Driver alone being your three main characters, like, and you look at where they're at now in their careers and stuff, like, oh my God, how did you even get them back then? But at the time, Adam Driver was still kind of finding his way as a leading man, so it was, a little easier. Um, but yeah, it's a really really great movie. It's one of those movies too, and I watched it, and then like my wife just like we put it on one day, and she's like, "Why didn't you show me that before?" She's like, "I love these type of movies, this dysfunctional family and stuff," and I'm like, "I don't know, like I just sometimes you don't like them," and so she really liked it too. It was just really well done. I think the cast was, like I said, was great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely a movie I like to revisit every so often.
Yeah, this one was really good for me to watch with the loss that we had in our family
Yeah.
recently. So
Hmm.
self coping and whatnot. So
Yeah.
I just it was perfect topic for the perfect situation for the unperfect situation. So
Yes. For
it is
sure.
currently on HBO Max. If anybody hasn't seen it yet, please take the time and give it a watch. It's about an hour and a half.
All right. So my next one is I referenced the director of the last movie I talked about. I'm going to go with The Royal Tenenbaums. Royal Tenenbaums is a 2001 comedy written and directed by Wes Anderson. Also, Owen Wilson co-wrote it with Wes. They worked together a lot. Produced by Wes, Barry Mendel, and Scott Rudin, starring Danny Glover, Gene Hackman, Angelica Houston, Bill Murray, Gwyneth Paltrow, Ben Stiller, Luke Wilson, and Owen Wilson. It is the film is a film about a family that has been broken up between Gene Hackman and Angelica Houston. Gene Hackman plays the um, horrible father to the kids, played by Ben Stiller, Luke Wilson, and Gwyneth Paltrow. And there's this just very like kind of dark cloud over the family. Everything's very weird. There's this possible relationship with the step brother and the step sister and Gwyneth Paltrow and Luke Wilson, and there's a lot going on in this dysfunctional family, and the core of it is most of it pointed to be Gene Hackman, who has kind of made the kids um, just a mess. They're a mess. Ben Stiller is the only one who seems like he has it together, but he really doesn't. As he's in the entire movie, his character basically starts to fall apart.
Mm-hmm.
It's yeah, it's really funny. It's really smart. Hackman gives a phenomenal performance. Angelica Houston is great. Danny Glover. Everybody is just on their game in this one. Gwyneth Paltrow is really good in it. Obviously, the Wilson brothers. Owen Wilson plays a best friend of Luke Wilson and Ben Stiller's character, who's also, I believe, in love with Margot. I believe it's been a while since I've seen it, but when it came out, it was like one of my favorite movies at the time. I'm a huge Wes Anderson fan. I know he's not for everybody. He's a bit weird and a bit avant-garde and pretentious even. But I do like him. I mentioned Rushmore. That's one of my favorite movies of all time. So this one kind of fits right in there. It's a good companion piece with any other dysfunctional family movie. The music is great. The directing, the lighting, everything about this movie works really really well. The costumes are fantastic.
The matching red tracksuits for
Oh,
me.
that's I think what most people remember is Ben Stiller and his two sons with the matching tracksuits and the curly afro hair. It's
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's just a really really good fucking movie, man. I mean, this is one of those ones I don't know if people just haven't talked about it in a while because it's older, but it's just one I like to think back on and remember fondly. Wayne, go ahead.
When you think of like a film school movie to study, this is
Yep.
definitely in that category. You mentioned avant-garde and
Yeah.
whatnot. And to this day, it's been a good 10 years since film school, but I don't even remember what avant-garde means. Just like film noir.
It's
I
just
think noir is
fancy.
great.
It's a fancy word.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean these films like this, I think I always look at films that are labeled as such, like they're just not for the general audiences. Obviously there's a meaning to within the word where what kind of film that avant-garde means, but it a lot of times to me what most what film noir, avant-garde, dark comedy, they're just not for
French
every
New Wave, sir.
French New Wave. They're not for everybody, and so they had to come up with like a fancy title for us to all sound pretentious when we say it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, oh, did you see that new film noir? It just they're movies and they're different, and I like different. I like fun, and I like Royal Tenenbaums because it is one of those films that just kind of makes you feel like you're watching something really really cool and really fun and really important, and it just hits all the right parts for me, and I really like this movie a lot. I should probably go watch it again because, like I said, it's been quite some time since I've seen it. But it's just a really well made movie, and I don't want to sound too pretentious when I talk about this kind of stuff because to me, again, movies are just movies. I'll watch Shiva Baby and Royal Tenenbaums as much as I'll watch Silent Night, Deadly Night. That's just how that's how my mind works. I like all those type of movies. And that's a
Yeah, for the people, like, oh, you always give stuff good reviews. It's like, well, we find redeeming things about things. Not everything
exactly.
is great, but we will speak kindly on the things that it does do well. But we will call out absolute dog crap, like Home Alone Christmas or whatever the hell that new abortion was that we had
or
last year
or
was.
Space Jam 2. Uh, the brand advertisement, the movie. Um, yeah, again, we like movies here, and we like watching movies, and even if it's not great, a lot of times we'll still, like Wayne said, we'll find something that we enjoy about it or that we like about it. Sometimes we do not. And we've had guests on that feel differently about that kind of stuff, and that's just not who we are. We are honest about who we are when we started this podcast, and that we like movies, and that's kind of like what we do. Some of the stuff you may consider trash, and we may agree with you, but that doesn't mean we don't like it.
Yeah.
uh
I mean, everybody's entitled to their incorrect opinions. So
yes. Exactly. And these are our fucking opinions, so fucking deal with it. All right, so Wayne, what is your what is your final film of the day?
all right, so we're going with 2011's Our Idiot Brother. Why? Because I love Paul Rudd. And why? Because it's a family dysfunction.
Oh,
So
so
there
dysfunctional.
it is. Let's see. So this is directed by Jeffy Pretz, written by Jesse Pretz, Ev- Evgena Pretz, maybe a relation. I don't want to speculate, but
I assume, yeah, I believe so.
and David Schiskal. Sorry about butchering the name. That's quite the list to throw at us. So a comedy centered around an idealist who barges into the lives of his three sisters. So Paul Rudd plays Ned, the brother to Elizabeth Banks, Zoe Deschanel, and then IMDb doesn't list the third
Um,
sibling.
uh, uh,
Rashida Jones? No, that's the girl from
no, it's God,
Emily Emily Mortimer.
yeah, Emily Mortimer. Yeah,
Mortimer.
Mortimer.
I have watched this movie, and I just going off the IMDb, I was like, that.
It's like you've seen it for the first time.
Some may say that Ned is special needs, or he's definitely out there. He's definitely the most unique snowflake in the blizzard.
Yes.
Very loving, very compassionate. Um, wants to have everybody like him and love him, and it's just he doesn't really. He's the square peg to the round holes in his sister's life.
Yeah.
Doesn't really fit, and he desperately wants to just be accepted, I guess. Um, there's the scene where he's goofing around with his nephew, and the nephew's hiding in the closet, and the nephew's got his fingers in the door frame,
Yep.
and he kicks the door open, and they're playing and smashes the kid's fingers. Obviously, does not mean to, but
He gets moved from sister to sister. What's fun about this movie too, Wayne, is the three sisters feel like they have their lives together, when in
yeah,
fact they do not. And Ned, while he's more of a free thinker and a wanderer, if you will, um, honestly has his more of his life figured out than they do. And um, it's funny to see when he gets frustrated, because the Ned character played by Paul Rudd is really just kind of there for everything.
yep,
But he does have his moments where he gets to have outbursts, like everybody else.
yeah. Adam Scott, Rashida Jones. I just realized there's like a bunch of well recognized people that I did not list. Steve
Yep,
Coogan plays the asshole husband
yep,
of Emily Mortimer, I believe.
yep.
T.J. Miller is the
This,
boyfriend hippie.
yep, and then Catherine Hahn is the another Catherine Hahn performance is
Yep.
his Ned's ex girlfriend who's now with T.J. Miller's
Who
character.
won't give him back his dog.
Yes, let him have his dog back, man. T.J. Miller, I know, again, another controversial person, but he's really, really funny in this movie. I love the connection that him and Ned have. Spoiler alert: they end up living together and making candles at the end of the movie. Really, just a fun movie. I remember, I went with my buddy and my wife to go see some horror film, and the other option was this movie, and we passed on it. But then when it came out on home video, I watched it and I really, really liked it. And I kind of wish, even though I was the only one that really liked the horror movie we went to see. I would have. I wish we would have gone and seen this one, because this one was really funny, really good, very emotional, very dysfunctional. The opening scene where he tries to buy the weed off the cop, or sells
Yes.
the weed to the cop rather.
Yeah.
Really just a funny movie, man. Paul Rudd, I mean, it's Paul Rudd, man. Like, where can you go wrong? Paul Rudd is amazing. If
Yep.
you don't love Paul Rudd, then I don't love you.
What's wrong with you? You know.
Who hurt you?
The
Um,
scene where he finds out that did the Dylan character played by Steve Coogan is cheating on his wife, his sister.
yes,
He's a photographer, and they're doing some
the
nude
interview.
photos.
He's a documentary
That's right.
filmmaker.
What could possibly go wrong with a bunch of being alone with naked people?
Yeah, she prefers to
Just
film naked.
terrible human being.
I love that. And then when he tells Emily Mortimer, and she's like, "Wait, what? They were naked?" The whole movie is just kind of like the whole movie breeds dysfunction, and it really is just one big dysfunctional family. However, it's a dysfunctional family who loves each other, and that's
Yes.
kind of what really comes through at the end of the movie. Again, just really well made, really fun, kind of underseen. I feel like, so it's good that you brought that one up, Wayne.
Yes.
Um, Definitely seek
Yes.
that movie out if you are one of those people that passed on that.
It is on Tubi right now, so
Nice,
definitely an option there for everybody.
gotta love Tubi, man.
Yes,
All
indeed.
right, so there's a lot of options here. I'm gonna choose. You know what? I'm gonna choose one I know that we didn't talk about before. Um, it's British. It's not a horror movie, so I chose no horror movies today, which I'll
Harry
be checking
Potter.
out. It is Death at a Funeral, the original,
Ooh.
directed by American Frank Oz, written by Dean Craig, starring Ewan Bremer, Peter Dinklage, Matthew McFadden, Chris Marshall, Alan Tudyk. Let me get down to the rest of the cast because I know there's other people in it. Let's see, Chris Marshall, Rupert Graves. Let's see, Keely Hawes, Peter Vaughn, Jane Asher, Peter Egan. So, Death at a Funeral is a family similar to This Is Where I Leave You, Wayne. They gather to send off their father. Their father has passed away. Matthew McFadden is kind of the mature sibling in the family, so he has to be the adult. And they're bringing all the family in town, all the family, the cousins, the nieces, the nephews, everybody's coming. So we get to meet a lot of these characters pre funeral, and then when they get to the funeral, just kind of chaos ensues. Alan Tudyk plays the British husband of one of the I think she's a cousin, or maybe it's a sister or cousin, and he accidentally takes some of his wife's brother's drugs, and he is high the entire movie, and he is hilarious. It's I think what a lot of people remember out of this film. If you remember this film, it's one of my wife's favorites from back then. She really loved this movie a lot. It's really just It's just again, it's just dysfunction upon dysfunction. You know, the wrong body being brought to the funeral, the casket opening, and the brothers fighting, and just Peter Dinklage, who plays an ex-lover of the dead father, who no one knew about. They had no idea that he was bisexual, and it's just this whole just crazy thing that just keeps spiraling out of control as the movie keeps going. Kind of think of like the end of National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, but it's that the entire movie where things just keep spiraling out of control throughout the entire film. It's really funny. They did remake it with Chris Rock and Martin Lawrence. Not great, the remake. It was okay. Peter Dinklage did return in that one. I think he was the only actor that appeared in that one. James Marsden played the Alan Tudyk role, but it was a different movie obviously than this one, and this one I thought was really really well done, the original. Definitely worth checking out if you haven't seen it. It wasn't like a huge box office hit, but it was a critical darling back in 2007 when it came out. So you may have seen it just on DVD, because that was back in 2007 when you would go to the video store and you would rent a DVD, or at least get it through Netflix through the mail, or Blockbuster for that matter. But yeah, so Death at a Funeral, man, if you haven't seen it, or if you haven't seen it in a while, definitely check it out. Great cast. A lot of the cast has gone on to do other things now. Matthew McFadden, obviously, people, if you watch Succession, he's in that. So he's gone on to do a lot of things, and it's just a great, great film, man. Really funny, really emotional, just really well done. And I really want people to check it out. So that's why I decided to bring that one up. All right. So we are going to move on to our next topic, which is our review
Of the week.
All right. So we have The People We Hate at the Wedding. It is directed by Claire Scanlon. Screenplay by the Molyneux sisters, Lizzie Molyneux and Wendy Molyneux. Don't know who they are, but they wrote it. Cast includes Allison Janney, Ben Platt, Dustin Milligan, Tony Goldwyn, Kristen Bell, Karan Soni from Deadpool, Cynthia Dye Robinson, Isaac DeBoncole, Jorma Tacome, Tony Goldwyn, John McMillan, Julian Overton, and Rufus Jones. Let's see. The plot, the premise. They really just give a very basic premise here on Wikipedia. Struggling American siblings Alice and Paul reluctantly agree to attend the wedding of their strange, wealthy half-sister Eloise in the English countryside alongside their mother, Donna. So Kristen Bell and Ben Platt, along with Cynthia Adai Robinson, play siblings.
Yes, it's very interesting. They had to explain it and break it down in the beginning of the movie because
Yes, they do. They
Eloise
give you a
is
nice
Allison
synopsis.
Janney's oldest child from a marriage to Henri. Henry.
Enrique, yeah.
Yeah. They get divorced, and Alice Janney moves back to the United States, but Eloise stays with her wealthy father, and she goes to visit, during the summers and whatnot.
Mhm.
Alice Janney remarries, has Alice and Paul with their father, who has subsequently passed away.
Yes.
So, which creates a lot of tension there and whatnot.
Yeah.
And what once was a very close knit group of parents and siblings has become strayed and frayed.
Yeah, we're given pieces throughout the movie. So like the Ben Platt character, Paul, he is upset with the mother because she got rid of all his father's things, like almost as soon as after he died, and doesn't really seem to talk about him much anymore. Kristen Bell's character is upset with her half sister because she did not show up for her when she needed her when she had a miscarriage
Yeah,
and break up with her boyfriend, who find out later why he broke up with her. And we never meet him, but he's a monster. Um,
they tie it all together very, very neatly, though.
they do, they do. This one had a lot more drama to it, Wayne, than I was expecting. I wasn't expecting it to be so emotional.
Yeah,
I was expecting more just like a kind of a. I guess I should have known better because dysfunctional family movies usually do not have less drama. They usually have more drama, and there's a lot to unpack in this movie
yes,
when it comes to the characters, and even with Cynthia Di Rob, I think Cynthia is it? I don't want to screw her name. Cynthia Di Robinson, who plays Eloise. Like her character is, she's kind of been after that perfect family,
yeah,
and she kind of thought she in her head. I think she made it up that she had that perfect family, but she really never did. Everyone was just, it was one of those families where everyone was nice to each other when they were around each other, and that no one knew that there was this division growing between them. That finally, when it happened, I think it kind of caught her off guard. Like she thought, oh, I'm going to invite my family. It's going to be fun. They're going to love being at my wedding. And as soon as they get there, everyone's very toxic. Everyone's very venomous. And she just isn't having it because it's her wedding and she wants everything to be perfect.
oh yeah. At the beginning, it's like the Kristen Bell and Ben Platt's characters, Paul and Alice. These people are awful.
Yep.
What the hell?
Yeah, you're kind
I
of
will
like,
say
yeah.
Kristen Bell did a really, really great job. She looks phenomenal, especially in the bachelor at party scene.
Yeah.
It's like, good for you. Well done. Being married to Dax Shepard has to be trying.
I'm assuming it is. Yeah, I mean, there's lots of those funny scenes where things just go chaotic. There's a bunch of those moments. Overall, it comes together, I think, pretty nicely, and very charming, if you will. And I think it works out the way most of these dysfunctional family dramas work out.
Yeah.
And I
Mass murder and suicide.
Yes. Spoilers, Wayne. None of that happens. But it is, it's not perfect. It's not one I'm going to be like, oh, it's one of the best ones. But I thought because of the type of movies that Wayne and I like, we talk about these movies a lot on here. I enjoyed it. I thought it was one that I think fondly of. I think I enjoyed the characters. I enjoyed the story. Some of the plot points I think are reused from other movies and stuff,
Right.
but it still worked. I think. Wayne, what are your thoughts?
When you're in the mood to talk in a British accent, right, Governor, you throw it on, you start letting it seep into you, and there it is. You hop on the good foot and do the wrong thing. Full of six and seven. Shit.
I
Yeah.
don't know what you just said.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm talking about either. You know what I mean? No, you don't know what I mean. Fuck. All right, so I'm about right around a 6.5, 7.
Yeah,
Nothing spectacular. I'm in no hurry to watch it again, but overall,
I would say for sure a solid 7 out of 10. It's enjoyable. I don't think you're going to regret watching it. I think you'll if it's one of those things like if you had seen it in theaters, maybe you'd be a little bit disappointed of it. But for watching it at home on Prime Video, I think it really does the job. It's a fun movie. Kristen Bell is fun to watch as usual. I'm not a huge Ben Platt fan, but he's okay in this. And of course, Allison Janney. I mean, Allison Janney is really good in anything, so it really doesn't matter what she's in.
that's the one thing I wanted to touch on. Just the relationship between Ben Platt or Paul and the mother, played by Allison
Yeah.
Janney. That was very, very glazed over. I think they could have done a little bit more about in regards to that. And like
They
Paul loved his father and idolized him, but it turns out Paul's father was disgusted by his lifestyle, and
Yes,
his
yes.
mother shielded him from that, and he still has this resentment against her.
They do brush it over pretty quickly. it comes to a nice resolution that you want. But I agree with you. It was kind of like, okay, like we need to get through this, and so they get through it pretty quickly without too many questions.
Yeah.
But that it's one of those things that happens closer to the end of the movie, so it's obviously they had to wrap it up. But yeah, and I think the scene with Kristen Bell and Cynthia Dye Robinson in the Taco Bell at the end, that was very sweet, a very sweet moment. And really kind of tied the movie together. So definitely check this one out on Prime Video if you are interested. Wayne, what have you watched recently that you want to talk about?
Ah, gosh. I talked about everything that I wanted to, that I watched this week because I was just prepping for this podcast and stuff going on.
All right then.
Picked up, watched the latest episode of Yellowstone. Um, I don't get the hate and the dislike because I think it's a great show, but apparently I am in the minority with some people that I associate with, which is fine. I just
And I know who you're talking about. But I think people miss the point where it is like a soap opera,
yeah.
and so you have to understand that going into it. I think people, you say it's a really well loved show, and so people go into it with thinking they're going to be watching, like,
Hmm.
to use an example, The Sopranos, and it's not that. It's a
Yeah.
more soapy, pulpy version of that. What I would compare it mostly to is something like Sons of Anarchy, which I love. Sons of Anarchy. It's one of my
Yep.
favorite shows, but I will admit that it's very soapy. It's very pulpy. It's very,
Yeah.
it certain storylines only exist to get inside the audience's head and make you feel certain things. Like
Yeah.
they didn't do it because it was all for creative purposes.
Yeah.
That's how Yellowstone is to
Yeah.
me, and I
Yeah.
love it because of that.
Yeah. Biggest thing, hey, it's that everybody gets to like what they like and what
Right,
they like.
exactly. Of course,
It's
not
my
everyone has to
the
like it. Yeah,
level of dislike. So like, hey, but
yeah.
that's cool. Whatever.
It's one
Good
of
time.
those things because I see people every once in a while. Why isn't it getting nominations? And it's like it's not getting nominations because it's that type of show. Sons of Anarchy never really got any nominations because it was a very popular show, but it wasn't never like one of those like critical darlings or anything like that. You know what I mean? So it
In truth, I could give a
right.
flying rat's ass
Well,
what it gets nominated for, or what awards it
right,
wins. It's
exactly,
all
and that's the
bull
point.
crap anyway.
Yeah, and the critics love Sons of Anarchy. Don't get me wrong. There was a
Yeah.
critically raved about show, but it wasn't raved about in a way that something like fucking Breaking Bad was. You know what I mean? Like it just wasn't that way.
Yeah.
And yeah, I feel Yellowstone is in the same vein, and I love Yellowstone, and we're gonna we watch it. We watch it on Mondays because we have
Yeah.
I buy it so I can watch it the next day. Um, Good show, real good show. I like where it's going. I love the characters and stuff, so I'm really interested in that. Anything else you watch, Wayne, that you want to talk about?
Of course, I should write a list. I tell myself I should write a list every week, and I don't. And
And that's
yeah,
okay. All right. Well, I'll just run through what I've watched, and then we'll get to the news and notes, and we'll get out of here. Netflix Christmas movies. I posted about this. Falling for Christmas with Lindsay Lohan. Cheesy, but probably entertaining. Not very good, but kind of like watching a train wreck. Christmas with You with Freddie Prinze Jr. I actually thought was pretty good. Single All the Way I thought was pretty good. The Noel Diary, which is a brand new one with the dude from This Is Us, was actually pretty decent. It's more of a drama than a comedy. Let's see. I think I talked about significant. The Swimmers. The Swimmers is a drama that's based on a true story. That's about these two girls who survived the attacks in Syria, and then one of them went to be an Olympic swimmer. Mandrake, a horror film, an Irish horror film on it's Irish or Scottish. I think it's Irish. On Shutter, not great. You could skip that one. Silent Night, Deadly Night 3, better watch out. A sequel to Silent Night, Deadly Night 2, where 6 years later, the killer is like brought back to life because the doctor's like, well, I just decided to put his brain back together. Okay. Crazy fucking movie. We rewatched Unbelievable, which is this awesome mini series on Netflix. Definitely recommend that. I watched Karen Peary, which is from the producers of Line of Duty, which is a cop show I've talked about. Karen Peary is a cop show that's 3 episodes. It's on BritBox. Really good, really well done, great acting. Last night I watched Slashback, which is a low budget alien horror film out of one of the Canadian territories. I won't try to pronounce it, but it's all the girls are Inuit, and it's really well done. I really recommend it. And then last night, Wayne, I watched Silent Night, Deadly Night 4 Initiation, which is a sequel to the Killer Santa Claus movie that does not involve a Killer Santa Claus at all. Barely takes place on Christmas. However, I think I liked it more than the other sequels because it goes in the last 30, 40 minutes or so, goes so off the rails and so crazy and so nutty. It reminded me of the movie the director did called Society, which is just a really crazy movie about wealth and society eating itself, and it kind of has that same kind of twist on it. I really enjoyed the back half of this movie, so I do recommend people check it out. It's on Shudder along with the other sequels. All right, so we will move on to news and notes for this week, and then we'll wrap up the show, everybody. All right. Brandy will return as Cinderella in The Pocket Watch, a future installment in the Descendants franchise. Ben Affleck and Matt Damon starting a production company with emphasis being on the artist and not the studio. Scream star Melissa Barrero's new film Bed Rest has been acquired by Tubi. Jan Demange takes over directing duties for MCU's Blade film. Demange directed 71 and White Boy Rick, as well as the first episode of Lovecraft Country. Angelica Houston next to reprise her role from John Wick in the spin-off Ballerina starring Ana de Armas. Honestly, this one makes the most sense because Ana de Armas' character is going to be one of those Russian ballerinas that Angelica Houston is in charge of in John Wick 3. Jaden Martell, Maxwell Jenkins, Sadie Silverall join Nick Cage in thriller Sand and Stones. Emily Hampshire, Jay Baruchel, Peter Gallagher, Sebastian Chacon, Alana Bale, and Serena Gollum Gus, probably didn't say that right at all, will star in horror film Humane from director Caitlin Cronenberg, daughter of David Cronenberg. Aaron Dean Eisenberg from The Deuce will portray the nature boy Ric Flair in A24's The Iron Claw, a film about the Von Erich family, often referred to as the first family of wrestling. Zac Efron and Jeremy Allen White star in the film as two of the Von Erich brothers. Nikyatu Jusu directing vampire film Suicide by Sunlight for Jordan Peele's Monkey Paw Productions. Mandy Moore joins Edgar Ramirez in Dr. Death Season 2 on Peacock. And Agatha, Coven and Chaos is the new title of the Agatha Harkness TV show from Marvel and Disney+. Releases. Copenhagen Cowboy from creator-director Nicholas Winding Refn hits Netflix January 5th. It's his brand new series. And deaths this week, James Winburn, original Michael Myers stuntman, has passed away at the age of 85. Wilco Johnson, British rock musician and Game of Thrones actor, dead at 75. Irene Cara, singer, actress, and Oscar winner for Best Original Song for Flashdance, dead at 63. And Albert Pyan, director, dead at 69. He did Cyborg and a bunch of 80s and 90s kind of like B action films. But he passed away from a long illness. So that is our show for this week. Wayne, any final thoughts before we head out here?
Have a good week, everybody.
All right, everybody. We hope you enjoyed this episode, and we hope you enjoy the future episodes. Thank you for listening to a new episode of Now Showing with Mike and Wayne.
Ronald Reagan, the actor?
Hasta la vista, baby.
Hey, everybody, we're all gonna get laid.